The Big Raincheck is a movie shot in Austin in 1981. The shooting of the film was interrupted and the movie was eventually left unfinished.
Stop! Stop! This is horrible. This movie's gonna be a complete flop.
The film's cameraman discovered all of the footage in his garage 3 decades later. The question then became, can you finish a film when most of the actors in it are dead and the script is lost? I got to Austin in December 1971. I had been sort of bumming around, hanging with friends in different places. Austin wasn't a very large place then, but it was full of creative people, and they were really nice.
When I first came to Austin, oh God, that was a long, long time ago. It was in May or June of 1960, and it was hot. I had never experienced temperatures like that in my life before. I was miserable.
When I got here in 1976, I immediately met other potters in town.
I permanently moved here like in 82 or 83, and moved in with my brother Randy.
It was 1966.
It was about 1980 when I arrived in Austin.
And I came in 68 from high school and could not wait to get out of Houston.
When I was 22, at first it was just going to be, it was my idea. I was going to do this. And then I had some roommates I was living with in Boston, and slowly a group of us, some of those guys and one girl kind of threw in their lot, and 4 of us moved down together, and that was summer of '99.
I came right out of high school here in May of 1981.
I came here first time in '74, but permanently in '76.
Well, I came here in December of '71 and immediately found a very bright and active arts community.
I first got to Austin in 1980 to go to film school.
Sugar Beet, how long have we been on this trip, huh?
I don't know. It seems like 3 days we've been in Texas.
Now listen, the reason why I wanted us to take this trip was for you to relax and take a big rain check. Watch out for that curb, you're gonna get us killed.
I don't need you to tell me how to drive.
God, you see that blood on that windshield? I guess some bugs ran into it. Do you think we should have gotten some malaria shots before we came here, huh?
I don't know.
How long will it be before we get to Austin, huh?
I don't know. Why don't you look at the map?
She always kept a slice of pizza in the glove compartment. And then she would act all surprised when she found the pizza. Like, oh, what's this pizza doing here? You put the pizza there, Patricia! You shouldn't put pizza in a glove compartment.
Well, it looks like 12 kilometers to me. I guess it's going to take about 2 hours for us to get there. You know, Dumpling.
Oh, man, that was a close one. These people drive like maniacs down
They
here.
are perfectly normal.
They're not. They're stupid. These Texans, man, oh. Down here, you got 1,000 Dairy Queens. That stupid country music on the radio. That Mexican food, like guacamole, I think I'm getting diarrhea.
David, I wish you would stop complaining about Texas. Oh, honey, please let me take that wheel. I'm afraid I'm just going to fall asleep.
I wish you would fall asleep. Then I wouldn't have to put up with this. Listen to your stupid comments.
You listen to me. We came down here for good reason. We came down here to sell the house that I got from my uncle. I know that the prices here in Texas are escalating just like they are in New York City. You hear?
Are you going to help me sell a house?
These financial matters are just too confusing for me. While you're selling the house, I'm going to be taking these guided tours of Austin. It's my understanding that the architecture here is really outstanding.
And I remember one night, I went to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and there was a cockroach. I had never seen a cockroach outside of a zoo before. It was huge. It freaked me out. I mean, it really freaked me out. I thought, I can't live here. I can't live here.
There was a pottery down on Barton Springs, right off of Barton Springs Boulevard, and where you walk down to the lake. It was called Wright Pottery. There are condos there now.
The gay scene in the early 80s was completely open. There was no concern even about AIDS at that point. There wasn't even a conversation happening about that. And so, very loving, very open. Everyone was having a really good time.
I was like 20 or 21, so it was a good time.
I just felt like God did not create Texas for human beings. He created Texas for armadillos, snakes, and cockroaches, and people were not intended to live here, especially me.
I remember being in my early 20s and meeting people here, and some of the people I would meet would leave at a certain point. You know, they would move off to New York or LA, and I would say, well, what are you doing? Why are you leaving? And they would say, well, it's too nice here. I can't get anything done. It's too nice.
I got a job at Swedish Hill in Clarksville, which was a real hub for this town because it had good coffee in a time of pretty much exclusively Folgers everywhere. And these exotic croissants that really basically tasted like cardboard.
I had transferred in the film department, and then everything changes from that point on. I become involved with the Daily Texan. I meet the people I'm going to start the Chronicle with. I meet people I'm going to start South by Southwest with. You know, when I become a film graduate student, it's a transitional moment for me.
They were doing Waiting for Godot, and I asked if I could do a dance performance. So he put me on that stage where it had a crooked tree that was part of Waiting for Godot. So I did classical Indian dance, temple dances in front of a crooked tree.
Oh, plus, you could rent an apartment for $50 a month then? Yeah, I figured I'd stay a few months. It turned into 20 years.
She just wanted to move so she could get driven around in fancy cars. She would go to local restaurants. And by local restaurants, I mean Taco Bell.
Ma'am, we here in Texas are mighty proud of our buildings. They're just filled with great history and art, too.
This is not Austin. This is St. Louis. I know it's St. Louis because I grew up in St. Louis. All the tree-lined streets, it's a dead giveaway.
Now, for instance, that place right over there on your left there. Yeah, now it's about 2 years old.
My goodness, 2 years. You said 2 years?
Oh, yes, ma'am. It's 2 years old. That place there is really kind of historical. It's 3 years old.
Did you say 2.5 years?
It's 3 years old.
That's extraordinary.
And if you need more proof, the supermarkets and the parking lots, man, come on. This is St. Louis. There is no other city like this.
That place there, it is open 24 hours a day. Now you can go in any time, just day or night. It's open.
All night long.
Well, now they might get upset if you spent the whole night in there.
You know, in New York, we don't have any place like that. We have a Tiffany's, we have the Metropolitan Opera, and we have Central Park. But they're not open all night long.
Yes, ma'am, it's open all night long.
And those fake Texas accents, man, you didn't fool me. All those actors are from Missouri. Come on, trust me.
Now look at those apartments over there, right over yonder on your right there. Those things won an architectural award.
That's amazing.
What'd you say your name was?
It's Patricia Goosens Clark.
Patricia Goosens Clark? Huh. That's amazing.
What is so amazing about that? Patricia Goosens Clark. It's a perfectly normal name for an upper-class New Yorker like me.
No, the Goosens part. Now, I knew Fred Goosens.
You mean Carl?
Yeah.
Carl, my long-lost brother?
Uh-huh.
You know anything about him?
Yeah. The last I heard, he was working one of these haircut deals. But I think it was a front for one of these zombie deals.
A zombie deal? That couldn't be true. A zombie deal?
Yeah, that's what it was.
That's just downright horrible.
Well, that's the way it was. Say, have you got a sister named Mary Ann?
Well, I do have a sister. A long-lost sister. A twin sister. Yes.
Well, I'll be doggone.
What's happened to her? Do you know anything about her?
Well, last I heard, she was working as an actress. Yeah, she was working for an actress for some of these folks down in San Antonio. They were a bunch of communists.
Oh, that's a fib. That can't be true.
Well, believe it or not, it's the fucking truth.
That just cannot be the truth.
What sort of person was Mary Ann?
Mary Ann was very unique. Her personality was different from anybody I'd ever known before. There was a gentle quality about her, a softness to her. I just loved her dearly.
She was a lot of fun. She was always in a good mood, had a good attitude.
What are your memories of her?
She was such a remarkable presence because it was such a den of iniquity in so many ways. It was very seedy in a lot of ways. She was just a breath of fresh air. She was beautiful and friendly and incredibly smart. But it was like, it was like the daughter in the Addams Family, where there's the vampire, the Frankensteins and vampires, and there's the healthy one, and she was always kind of the healthy one. Not that she was completely above it, but she maintained a real purity.
Mary Ann was a very sensitive, warm person, very, I want to say polite, but also very friendly.
Very attractive, although I don't remember that I was attracted to her, just that she was an attractive person.
I always wanted to be very genteel and very ladylike around Mary Ann because she was one of the most genteel, ladylike people I have ever met.
And she came in all spacey-eyed, like some two-bit mall hussy, looking at my cat I got from Lancaster, Dutch country when I was there on vacation. She went up to it and said,
Kitty! Kitty! Meow! Kitty!
"Oh, Kitty, Kitty, hi, Kitty, hello, Kitty." Next thing I know, she stole my cat. Probably has it off there in Texas somewhere.
Kitty! I wonder what's wrong with this radio. I don't know why it's not playing. Silly radio. Hi, honey. Honey, I had the most fabulous tour today. Listen, you look tired. I was gonna make a cup of coffee. You want one?
Yeah, I'll have one. Can't you even make a good cup of coffee?
What the heck were you trying to hide from me?
Nothing.
Quit that line. What were you putting in your pocket?
I'm not lying.
You. I want to see it. What is this? Mary Ann, 852-5206, San Antonio.
That's my cousin.
Yeah, like all your $30 an hour whores are your cousins.
When are you gonna help me sell this house?
Darn it, quit trying to change the subject. What is wrong with you?
You won't help me sell this house.
That's ridiculous. You don't need my help in selling this house. Anyway, my brother Carl has been turned into a zombie, but you don't care about that, do you?
Look, as far as I'm concerned, your whole family is zombies, and you're the biggest one of them all.
You just don't care about me anymore.
You don't care about me. I want a divorce.
Well, that's just fine with me. I want a divorce too.
I told him not to marry her. I met her, I said, huh, there's your future ex-wife, Dave. There's future Mrs. X, Dave.
I was kind of shocked at how much the camera loves Marianne. You know, she was beautiful and radiant, but the camera is kind of transcendent. You know, I mean, her on film in that movie is silent screen star beautiful. You know, she's amazing, which is one of the reasons I couldn't watch it.
She looked absolutely amazing. And it saddened me because I realized I miss her. I miss her. I miss her presence in my life.
I knew she was dead. Somebody had told me she had died, but I'd forgotten it. And she is so remarkably beautiful in that film that it was just too painful to watch.
Pretty soon I started making friends with people who were as passionate about movies as I was.
In 1978, Ed was the head of Cinema Texas, and he was the editor and the programmer. So he was like the guy, and in reality, he was who we all learned from. And one day I showed up and he said, you know, there's a movie The Drive-In that you should probably go see. And I came back in and I said to Ed, how could you be so nonchalant? This is a great movie. And he looked and he said, yes, I think it's a great movie, but I didn't know you would think it was a great movie. And I was being cautious. And so that began a passionate discussion that lasted for 3 years without let up until the very end. We would go to Cinema Texas and watch the 7 o'clock show and watch the 9 o'clock show, and then we would go over to the Union and borrow the films they were showing, take them over to our house, and watch them, you know, until 4 in the morning.
And that's when I met Joey. We would spend all day just talking about movies and film and watching movies together.
That was great, huh?
Great? Well...
Well...
The acting was superb and the writing was so beautiful. Yeah, but it was very simple looking. It lacked any visual style. And film's a visual medium.
Wait, who says? It's like you're saying, that was a great movie, but I'm not supposed to think so. I mean, whose rules are these? These are not my rules. And incidentally, since when are they yours?
How do you think Eddie opened up your mind? How do you think he influenced your thinking?
It's like stopping, what's his name on the road from Damascus and saying, you know, what just happened? Eddie, I had this incredible knowledge and passion about film, but meeting Ed Lowry was the moment that it became religion.
Oh, look at that poster. I want to see that movie.
That drive-in movie? Joey, it's about girls in prison. How can that be any good?
So you are coming with me, right?
Yeah.
It was never about, well, I know more than you, so you're dumb. It was more about, have you seen this? And if you haven't, you should see this.
I made this little experimental short. It was so bad. It had all kinds of technical problems. But Joey loved it anyway.
The whole aesthetic sense that Ed had was in a remarkable Catholicism with a small C, where everything was part of the same package. There wasn't high art, there wasn't low art. I could say there was just art, but even art is a loaded term.
It was like, the crazier my ideas got, the more she liked them.
we were like in love, and he was gay and I was straight, and we weren't like in love that way, but it was like the sweetest relationship in the world, and it was incredibly empowering for me.
Why did they remake that? They should only remake bad movies. Maybe perfect really isn't all that perfect. You know, maybe actors are at their best when they screw up their lines. It's when they really reveal something.
So you would want to go out of your way to make a bad movie?
No, that's not what I'm saying. Wait, what? Excuse me, Mrs. Who makes up these rules? I don't make these rules. No, all I'm saying is I just want to see something else, something I haven't seen before.
This is a period of time where there was an enormous amount of discussion of textuality. This is meaningless now with new technologies. But at that point in time, the textuality was absolutely important. And film, the film world was clearly artificial. 24 frames a second. There was an inherent distance between viewer and film, which video almost broke down because it was live.
There was plenty of hostility towards using video as opposed to film and the big screen.
I'm not saying audiences were conscious of this, but without thinking about it, film was preserved, video was immediate.
In those days, when I first got to film school, even I looked down on using video. I went to film school, cinema.
When Eddie said to me that the video you would make had only been done in video, couldn't have been done in film, was because in film it would have been horrible. It wouldn't have worked.
And incidentally, I don't feel that video is an inferior alternative to film. I just think it's something totally different. Something I would use. It's just much more real and raw.
There aren't many people who would agree with you. But maybe I do. Why don't you stop talking about this and actually go do something? Lucas, don't give me that look.
The next thing I knew, I was shooting my very first feature, the Big Raincheck.
Eddie's relationship with cinema, in a way, was much more visceral than mine. Mine was probably more intellectual, and so he physically felt your films. He didn't just watch them, he felt them, and he liked that about them.
I think I remember thinking at the time, Walter's going to make a movie. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
Eddie thought it was brilliant, and Eddie totally, much more so than me. Eddie was delighted because he liked thinking about things like that. So he was much more stoked by it than I was.
What do you actually remember about the shooting of the Big Raincheck?
I remember very little about it.
It was really like going through a rabbit hole and a whole new world, another film school, really, and then some came to life.
So I went to lunch with him one day at the old Nighthawk on Guadalupe, which is no longer there. It's now a place called That's Life. And we had lunch together, and I thought he was fucking out of his mind. I thought he was severely retarded. He kept talking about why do people remake good movies, why don't they remake bad movies, which at the time I thought was the stupidest thing anybody had ever said to me. And he would go off on tangents and he was incapable, actually, of any kind of coherent or linear thought.
So there was a whole notion of what you were doing in your work in terms of I certainly was interested in some of the ideas about narrative, but in terms of some of the things that you were trying to do in terms of being as annoying as humanly possible, as cinematically possible.
When I made this record, I was a star. But now I'm nothing. I have no career, no music, no art. No woman will marry me. Dear God, please give me back my career.
Roberto, this is the voice of God. Cut the Ave Maria, I can't concentrate.
You have answered my prayers.
Are you kidding? Roberto, you are a total loser. I'm taking a big rain check on you.
I'm God. I watched the footage of my voice, and I have to say, I do not approve. That was not my voice. I did not consent to my name being used in vain, and that sort of thing really upsets me. You're not going to use my face in this, are you? You can blur it out and change my voice, right? I command you to blur my face. Thank you. And make my voice sound really cool. There. This is the voice of God.
I was not interested in durational cinema, and I was not interested in purposely irritating cinema, and as a matter of fact, resented it.
There's a
You don't know what
species in
you're talking
Africa
about.
that crawls
No,
from the
you don't
water
know what
onto
you're
the
talking
land,
about.
and it is somehow
Stop
linked
that.
with the move
She's a
of
fine
man
lady, I'm
from
telling you.
fish to amphibian
You know, my
to...
grandfather used to
I don't want to
say,
hear about your grandfather.
if you're gonna nuke a whale, you
I
better
want you to
sit
shut
Why
up.
don't you go bake a pie?
Why don't you go bake a big pie?
I don't know. It's like Ed Wood, but without the demented energy.
That's kind of what I wanted.
Lucas, you're trying to direct actors playing the roles of actual bad actors. It hasn't gelled yet. It's hard. I think maybe you need to rehearse some more. Maybe even reshoot the whole scene. It's the 80s. You're shooting on video. It doesn't cost you anything to reshoot. And it was your idea to shoot on video, so take advantage of it.
The thing about filmmakers or the people who really set out to do it is that most of us don't have much of a skill set outside of it. You know, most of us who can do something else do. And if you can't, then you can give up all the time. You can give up, you know, on a yearly basis. But at a certain point you go, oh shit, what the fuck else am I going to do? And then you just kind of start it up again. And I think that's, I mean, I've been ready to give up plenty of times, but there's never been anything else to go do.
The more I shot of the film, the more confident I got. Marianne, you can slow down just a little bit. Okay, the last time you were nervous, so you're rushing your lines, but you're doing great, okay? There's no need to rush.
Kirby, you're going to be the first auteur sound man in history.
Somebody has to make demands. I actually think that I was good for that moment, and I have no idea what I was doing there.
Yes. Thursday the 20th of August? Wonderful. Wonderful. Okay, now I do need that information by that date. You understand? I do need that information. Let me see what I have here. No, I don't have anything on that case.
Can I
Could you
have
tell
some
me what
attention
you
around
have?
here?
Oh, I have a client in the office. Can I get back to you on this? Very good. Thank you. Hello. Can I help you?
You've just got to help me. My brother, I think he's dead.
Your brother? Why don't you sit down? Please, try to relax. First of all, what's your name?
It's Patricia Smith. Listen, you've got to help me. My brother, I think he's turned into a zombie.
A zombie? Why, Patricia, zombies are only in horror movies. What makes you think these crazy ideas?
My brother, he used to go to this haircut place, and everybody there was real creepy. I know they turned the customers into zombies, and I think they turned him into a zombie. It's horrible. It's a tragedy.
Patricia, please, if I've told you once, I've told you several times. Try to relax.
All they know is to look blank and say something very, 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 very slowly.
Now, if you need my assistance, I can provide you with all of the professional services of my detective organization.
How much do you charge?
$20 a day, plus expenses. Can you afford that? Well, Mike, we have a new case.
Yeah, what's that?
The case of the missing zombie. But seriously, this girl is totally out of it. I think if we play our cards right, we can take her for as much as $200.
Are you serious?
Yes, I'm serious. There's only one problem, though.
Yeah, what's that?
I kept trying to get her to relax, but she wouldn't. She wouldn't. She wouldn't. She wouldn't. She wouldn't.
I told him to relax, but he wouldn't. He wouldn't. He wouldn't. He wouldn't.
I think we just ought to make a pretense of investigating this zombie crap and make sure she pays us 2 days in advance.
He wouldn't. He wouldn't relax. And I think it's her fault.
I've got an advance screening tickets to see Madame Butterfly at the Oriental, so I've got to go. See you later.
Bye.
I think you owe me an explanation.
I don't owe you anything.
I think you've been cheating me.
Well, I'll show you a thing or two, you shameless little hussy.
She was a shameless little hussy. And I told Dave that when I first set eyes on her in my condo.
So you want me to relax, huh? You want me to relax? You think I'm a sucker, huh? You think you can take me for $200, huh? I'll show you how to relax. I'll show you how to relax real good. You'll relax a lot.
Yeah. This is your best scene yet. I love how her face keeps getting caught in the branches of that horrible lamp.
Really? You like it? Oh no. I still feel like I'm losing my mind. The way I'm directing it.
But isn't that what you want? Something really strange?
Okay. But who's gonna want to see this?
I don't know exactly. But I do.
Does it get better after the first film, at least?
Of course not.
Well, then what the hell do I have to look forward to?
Who said you have anything to look forward to?
God, sometimes it...
This is really good.
I think most of my filmmaker friends go through periods of despair and think that it's all over. Especially now, especially in the 21st century. You know, it's an increasingly kind of absurd and unsustainable thing to do.
Hey, Donald, aren't you glad you came out to Hollywood instead of staying in Moscow?
Oh, you better believe it, you know. Cocaine, sports cars, fast women, you know I love it. Aren't you glad you quit the FBI?
You better believe it.
Casting Mickey as the FBI agent was the perfect grace note of absurdity that you find throughout the film, because unless Mickey had some interest in an FBI agent, some sexual interest, he would have never been anywhere near the FBI.
Who is this guy that's coming for the interview anyway?
Oh, God. A loser, a has-been, a jerk, some ex-pianist. Just the big talent of the century, right?
Oh, Jesus.
Just what we're looking for, right? Just great.
Incidentally, what is the budget on this picture?
Oh, the new one's about $300 million. Nothing
that's great.
special. Just the normal.
What's your background as an actor?
Well, I don't have one, but I used to be a pianist, so I'm in show business.
What makes you think you can work for us? Why don't you go to Coppola instead?
Well, first of all, I'm desperate. I need a new career. And who's Coppola?
What's your favorite entree?
Fish sticks.
Fish sticks?
Supposing somebody offered you $50,000 a year and a chauffeur-driven Maserati, you have to promise you'll never leave the city limits of Akron, Ohio again. What would you do, big shot?
God, that's a tough one. I'd have to take a rain check.
I guess I'll have to take a rain check.
You sure are Mr. Personality, aren't you?
Okay, listen. You were at someone's house in Beverly Hills. You needed to take a crap. And there was no toilet paper. What would you do?
That's a real long shot. I'd have to take a rain check.
Use the sink.
Well, Mr. Showbiz, so far I can't say you've been making a real favorable impression around here. Say you're at a fashionable party on the Upper East Side in Manhattan, okay? And somebody serves you mushroom quiche. And there's dead cockroaches in it. What would you do?
I'd ask for another appetizer.
You have not got a shred of talent, Mr. Showbiz, so you can just beat it. You can take one of your own little rain checks. Get out. You've been wasting enough of our time.
What a geek.
God, you know it.
Next!
That guy Alberto, he really was a no-talent hack. I did not know him. I don't know what sort of piano music he played, but he was never a star.
Hello, I'm Mr. Allen. What can I do for you?
Listen, you've got to help me. My brother's been missing. I went to another detective agency, but it just wasn't satisfactory.
That woman had strange habits. I'm not a psychiatrist, but she was obviously a pervert. She obviously had mental problems. She would sniff things.
Of course. We're here to help. Would you like a cup of coffee?
No, I don't want any coffee.
Fine, fine. Just a moment. I want to have some.
I walked in one time, caught her sniffing my duvet cover. She sniffed my wiener dog. Came in one day, she was sniffing my hot tub. Just all over the place. She would get other people to sniff things. She was a sniffer. She was a perverted, creeping sniffer.
Hello, Doris? Would you make some coffee, please? Are you sure you don't want any coffee?
I do not want any coffee.
I'm gonna help you sell your house. Gonna help him sniff his house.
Okay, Doris. Coffee for one, please.
Dan liked the cat. The cat ran away. Dan ran after the cat. I mean, that's how they sound. Like they're reading like they're in kindergarten.
Oh, I forgot. I have some coffee right here in my desk. Well, now, exactly what is the problem?
Well, my brother, about 6 days ago, went to the supermarket. Said he was going to one anyway. And he never came back. I'm mildly concerned about him.
Uh-huh. How old is he?
How should I know?
Well, what's your name?
Patricia Smith.
Oh, fine, fine. Now we're really getting somewhere. I'll take the case.
How much do you charge?
There will be no charge. No charge whatsoever. Are you sure you wouldn't like some coffee?
Well, maybe I'll have a sip. What sort of a pervert are you? Smelling all my stuff.
I'm not a pervert. I'm Mr. Allen.
Oh my goodness. I feel so sleepy. Oh.
Erica. Erica, darling. Yes.
Yes, darling. I did exactly as you told me.
All of the acting in this film is atrocious, except for my performance.
Now, what shall I do with her?
Oh, no. No, Erica.
I couldn't do a thing like that.
Oh,
Do you think I must?
very well. I will take her to the psychiatrist.
The thought runs through my head all the time. I always think, whenever you're on set, you look around at all these people who are working for either nothing or next to nothing, and you're thinking, like, these people really going to show up again tomorrow? And so, you know, the thing is always on the verge of collapse.
You just relax.
Look.
How's the book coming
Paz
along?
puts everything of that into perspective.
Let me talk about my book. I am the guest on right now.
Well, how's it like being a psychiatrist?
I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm a psychiatric nurse.
What does she know? She has never read my book.
What's it like being a pie?
Well,
it's number 2 in the New York Times.
Yeah.
And she has not read it. Why is she on the show? I'm sure everyone in the audience here has read my book.
Why haven't you
right?
read his book?
See?
Wouldn't it be
See?
helpful as a psychiatrist to read something like that?
What's it really
What
like
does she care?
being a...
What do you care?
Who cares? I don't care. I don't care.
What medical school did you go to before
I
you became
don't
a psychiatrist?
care.
That's the way things were when people were tweaked out. Everyone would have their own agenda and their own little dialogue going on simultaneously.
I'm not a psychiatrist.
Well, you told me you were.
I'm a
You
psychiatric
have not been reading
nurse.
enough. You should read my book. You
A
should read number 3.
psychiatric nurse.
You mean like
Nurse.
One flew
She's
over
a
the...
nurse. She'll tell you
Psychiatric.
the importance of nutritional.
Like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. You see that movie?
Yeah.
What do you
didn't
think
mean to
about this
interrupt.
one? What do you
You
think
are
about
very
this one?
disturbed.
Yes, very disturbed.
Very disturbed.
Do you know that because you're a
You heard it
psychiatrist?
from a
You can see-
professional. She's
I
very disturbed.
am not
She
a
knows nothing about plants.
psychiatrist. I am a psychiatric nurse.
I don't know what they're doing in the film. I don't know how they got into it. I don't know who let them in. They could have been left at the door, you know?
I didn't feel like any of this was coming together. I needed Joey. I would call her, but she started sounding very distant over the phone, not really wanting to talk much. After a while, not even picking up at all.
Hello. Are you Patricia Smith?
Yes, I am.
Good. It's always important to get treatments of mental patients off to a good start.
Bad, bad, bad filming. Bad, bad actors.
Now, you were referred to me by a detective agency.
Yes, I was.
So obviously, you have mental problems, which is why you came to a professional.
The fellow who is being the shrink and the two different detectives is extremely painful for me to listen to him speak. Extremely painful.
But first, why don't you sit down and relax?
Listen, you've got to help me. My brother's been turned into a zombie, and no one will believe me. They all think, oh my God, they all think I'm insane. But I am not, I am not, I am not, I am not, I am not.
They could have picked somebody off the street who could do better than that.
And as for my other friends, so what do you think about it?
I mean, I'd rather not say. Isn't it obvious?
No, please.
I really didn't like your movie. You know, I wouldn't lie to you, I didn't think it was funny. Do you want me to tell you the
You
truth?
know it's not even finished yet.
Well, from what I've seen so far, you'd be better off not finishing it. Am I hurting your feelings?
No. Yeah. You know, at least I'm trying.
Maybe you should quit trying. If I were you, I would never make another movie.
Okay. Now you just sound like my father.
All right, we're gonna start filming in a moment.
Good. This film really hasn't been going that well. What do you think?
How should I know? This is my first scene in this movie. I was just transferred from The Curse of the Zombies versus The Aztec Mummy to this production.
Zombies versus Aztec mummies. It's a new game on my phone.
Listen, I have this great new role I'm starring in. It's Lassie,
Yes. Yes, I know exactly what you mean. Well, I must go. There's somebody at the doorbell.
Mary Ann, you've forgotten your Japanese accent. Now come on.
Yes. Yes. I know exactly what you mean. Well, I must go now. There is somebody at the doorbell.
What a pity to have such a bunch of nincompoops for actors. What a pity.
What is this shit anyway? Who directed all this commie crap?
What do you mean who directed it? He took a rain check.
Well, I'm gonna take an even bigger rain check, so you can just shove this. I'm gonna go work on the Lassie film.
You said you thought that when you were in it, you were coked up.
Mm-hmm. I thought David was great, myself. In a bad kind of way, but that's David.
After watching it, you still think you were coked up when you made that film?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And so was everyone else in the movie.
You sure?
Uh-huh. I can spot it a mile away.
We were all young. I'm 66 now, and he was just out of college, so how old is that?
So you can just shove this. I'm gonna go work on the Lassie film.
Oh, get lost.
Well, what are we going to do now?
Let's go
to a Mexican restaurant and talk about it.
Let's go to a Mexican restaurant and talk about it.
Obviously, we're going to need another actor. And fast.
So I remember saying, we have to find another actor, and fast.
And fast.
I never got to the last sound in the word fast. It was only because I ran out of air. I made it so drawn out. I was trying to keep a slow pace because it seemed everything was being spoken at a very slow pace. Very slow.
Butterfly, we must talk about your husband. I have some very tragic news to tell you.
Save the footage that I did and get rid of all the rest of the footage. I think that would be a wonderful idea, and you'd have only the best of the best.
The real tragedy is that we do not live in communist Russia.
Butterfly, why do you say that?
That director could have been taken out and shot before a firing squad of good actors. That would be a fitting end for bad direction.
Because in communist Russia, they have wonderful subways built by Joseph Stalin.
Anyone who makes a flop like this should never direct again. You should never have a chance to direct again. The minimum wage at McDonald's would be too good for you.
Butterfly, remember, we studied Marx together, and we studied Lenin together, and we studied Trotsky together.
Yes, I know. But I wish they had subways in Moscow, like the wonderful subways they have in Tokyo. Monuments to people's capitalism, built by Toyota.
No. The line is, I wish they had subways in Tokyo like they have in Moscow. Stop! This is horrible. This movie's gonna be a complete flop.
Do you realize that I was the director and you're talking about me?
So what?
When my friends started dying, it was people thousands of miles away. We were safe in Texas at first.
In the early 80s, I was reading Village Voice articles about this gay cancer.
To a lot of us, it was like that awful thing that's happening on both coasts, and then suddenly it was here among us.
Then I got the phone call. Joey was dead. Just like that. I didn't know she was sick. I didn't even get a chance to say goodbye. All I know is that she was gone. And she was the first one.
I lost friends to the AIDS epidemic. Actually, 2 friends of mine that were both haircutters.
In several instances, unless I was invited by the family to come by and see someone, I never got to see them again, and I didn't really know what happened. And that was probably the biggest heartbreak to me, was losing someone in that situation and not really knowing when they passed or if they passed.
During the AIDS epidemic, I lost probably 15 or 20 of my closest friends. And I lost probably 2 whole groups of friends. I lost one entire group of friends, and then I made a new set of friends, and I lost 90% of them to AIDS as well.
Pretty soon it seemed like all my friends were getting sick, including the actors in my film.
And I had to start over for maybe a 3rd time, making new friends.
2 people that were in the film, Philip Stansbury and Mickey Troncalli, were great friends of mine.
Hey, Donald.
Right.
Hey, Fish Stick.
Right.
Both of them died of AIDS.
And this big article came out about a lot of people that had died and a lot of the people in Austin that had died, as well as Dallas, in some newspaper magazine, and it listed probably at least a dozen of my close friends with little obituaries about each one. And I would just happen to be losing one or two more at the same time.
One of them, David Cole, was the best singer in school. This black guy who sang the tenor part on Poulenc's Gloria. God, he was so beautiful. I think he was just a sophomore. You know, and I still hear David's voice coming in on that gorgeous part.
Oftentimes you'll see somebody that reminds you of someone, and you'll think that guy looks just like Anthony, and I really miss him.
I didn't accept it very well. I don't deal with death well, I don't think.
And then also I had two friends who killed themselves when they got, when they found out about their status. Brad and Victor.
Chris Collins is in the movie. Can you talk about him and who he was?
He was my first long-term lover, so he became ill at some point and had to move back to Tyler, where we were from, and I didn't get to see him as much at that point because he was in pretty bad shape.
The incredible 80s of that motherfucker Reagan not helping at all. And the feeling at that time of like, awesome, gay men dying, it serves them right.
At the funeral, the priest just impugned Chris's lifestyle and had a very negative opinion. He didn't have anything nice to say about Chris.
This young man died in sin. There will be no room in God's heaven for someone like him. He died in shame. There is no forgiveness for him in the eternal fires of hell. Although he knew full well the consequences of his actions, he made a choice. He chose the life of sexual abandon and evil. His death is God's punishment, and it was richly deserved. Let this be a lesson to all of you.
And then in mid-October of 1985, Ed Lowry died in Dallas from AIDS, and so it was an amazingly devastating experience.
It seems like I couldn't find anybody to talk to anymore. Well, that looks pretty good. I probably should have ordered that instead.
I don't know. Your salad looks pretty good, actually. I'm RJ.
It's really, really nice to meet you, RJ. I'm Lucas.
Nice to meet you, too.
I've seen you here before.
You seem familiar. I usually come here around my lunch breaks. Well, I mean, except for today, where it's a little bit more like dinner.
Yeah. I like coming here this time of day. It's nice.
What do you do?
I'm a filmmaker.
Wow.
I've been working on my first feature.
Oh my God, what's it about?
Well, it's got a lot of different characters with overlapping storylines.
Sounds pretty interesting. When's it gonna be shown?
I don't know. It seems like it's taking me forever.
Do you think you could show it to me sometime?
Oh, it's not done yet.
Maybe just a scene?
I don't feel comfortable showing my work until it's completed.
Yeah. Sure. Are you even really a filmmaker?
I don't remember the specific time I abandoned the film. It just happened. I had shot a lot of footage, But eventually I couldn't remember what happened to it. All I knew is that I didn't have it anymore. I left Austin to make a new life, but it didn't matter where I lived. My friends kept dying, just the same. Time passed, and more time passed. And incidentally, time does not heal all wounds. I'm sorry I wasn't there when you were sick.
It's okay, you never knew I was sick.
I'm sorry,
Nothing to be sorry about.
but I didn't get a chance to say goodbye.
Well, obviously you didn't have to say goodbye after all.
But I let you down.
You never let me down. So when are you gonna finish that old movie of yours?
You can't be serious.
Wow, you have no excuses left. You should really finish things you start.
Yeah, except I lost a script long ago.
You didn't lose it, you threw it out.
How would the Big Raincheck have ended as a film? I have no idea. I just couldn't even say. You would have to ask yourself that.
I have. I don't know.
Yeah.
The script was lost a long time ago.
Joey, I just don't remember what's supposed to happen. You know, there's multiple storylines.
So there was a script,
Yes,
beginning to end.
yes. But it's gone.
There was this stuff very out of time and place. I don't know what I thought of it. I couldn't tell what was going to happen, but it seemed like it could go in a number of directions.
I thought it was ridiculous and fun and beyond comprehension. And
I think this movie, The Big Raincheck, this fragment of a movie, does reflect a certain change in the zeitgeist at that time from the 70s, the sort of earnest rock and roll 70s, to a new sort of pop sensibility in the early 80s.
Now, based on the footage that I have seen, they're not the smoothest running couple in town.
I got this brilliant idea that the guy she was in the car with turned out to be a serial killer. There was something creepy about him.
I never would have thought of that.
Are you sure?
I think the whole setup was born for serial killer syndrome. This is Texas.
It's tough for me to discuss, you know, what the Big Raincheck could have been, the pieces that could have been sewn together by one man's performance. Kirby McDaniel is obviously that man.
Kirby, you're going to be the first auteur sound man in history.
Somebody has to make demands.
One of the would-be greatest actors of a generation, and it's a film performance that's lost to us. It's tragic. It's really tragic. Hey, sure, he started out as a sound man, but one quiet afternoon, the director on a hunch gave him a screen test. He was magnificent. I mean, it's clear, isn't it, even from this tiny piece of salvaged footage? Look at the way he gestures, he turns, such subtlety. He was immediately cast as the zombie brother, the film's most crucial role.
As a private investigator, I find that it's my duty to get inside the psyches of the people I investigate. Patricia was a girl who lived and dreamed the movies. Her favorites? Operetta, film noir, and zombie movies. In fact, she even had her own theme song, The Movies in My Mind. Now, in the safety of her movie memorabilia room, she could live out her fantasies.
I gotta keep that in the film.
But when she moved to Austin to live out the movies in her mind, her dream turned into a nightmare. All the doors were slammed in her face, and this triggered what had been developing inside her since infancy, a multiple personality disorder. Soon, she imagined herself all the characters in this movie. She was Patricia, the ultimate film noir femme fatale. She also became Alberto, pining for a career as a concert pianist while moonlighting as a hairdresser. Now, when these private investigators proved to be rotten,
The detectives depicted so far in the footage that I have seen
Well, Mike, we have a new case.
are both crazy and shysters.
would you like a cup of coffee? And trust me, they were the worst. She killed them. This leaving the city with a string of unsolved murders. There were no detectives left to solve the crime. Or were there?
Can I really finish this?
Or was all this just the movies in my mind are full of dreams of joy, of movie dolls and toys. The movies in my mind are full of fantasy, of films that soon will be. They may be melodramatic, but very cinematic. The kind that you get lost in, the kind they make in Austin.
Did you realize this is a musical?
Huh?
Was there really a zombie brother? Of course there was. It's like the great playwright Anton Chekhov said, if you introduce a gun in the first act, then that gun better be fired by Act 3. So yes, the zombie brother was introduced in the first part of the film, so we're going to have to see him at some point or other in the remaining portion that was never filmed.
I don't necessarily know that there was a zombie brother. I believe these are all different little codes that are intermixed within the script, and the certain people that are supposed to be viewing this movie are going to be able to crack the code where others won't. It'll just go over, possibly, come off as a joke when it's really serious and there's a serious matter underlying all of it.
Last I heard, he was working one of these haircut deals.
It's called a salon or a barber shop. No one calls it a haircut place.
But I think it was a front for one of these zombie deals.
My opinion is we have to meet some kind of creature who could be Patricia's brother. Whether he will be a zombie or another identity of the psychiatrist detective, I have no idea.
Carl, that zombie character, was about to turn up. Yeah, that's exactly where the story was heading.
Was him being a zombie a front for him being a weed dealer? Or is him being a weed dealer a front for him being a zombie?
And I got to wondering, who would be perfect to play the Carl the zombie brother? The obvious answer is me. I look just like Patricia, and I'd be perfect. I play Carl as a well-educated, good-natured, good-mannered, friendly zombie. Someone very polite that you would like to sit down and have tea with.
So was there a zombie brother or not?
How the hell should I know?
Didn't you write this thing?
Well, that doesn't help.
Patricia, I don't know if you were a zombie, you are a zombie, or you're running from zombies.
And what's with this zombie stuff in the first place? It's like on almost every movie, it's either got to be vampires or zombies. They can't come up with anything else anymore. And I'm personally sick of it. Of course there are no zombies. You'd have to be an idiot to waste your hard-earned money to go see crap like this. Take it from me. You're better off watching cat videos on YouTube. At least cats are real.
The movies in my mind are full of espionage and green screen decoupage. The movies in my mind. The movies in my mind.
We know that the Communist Theater Troupe is looking for a new recruit, and it's pretty obvious that recruit is going to be Alberto.
There's a woman playing the part of Amanda Butterfly who is actually a twin of another woman. And I want to get the twin who I can change into a communist, who I can convince her. And the other one might not agree, and I will simply figure out some way to get her out of the picture. I've got that all worked out.
You can tell that there are the certain characters that are under mind control.
The first thing I noticed was Teresa, the psychiatric nurse from the talk show sequence. She keeps repeating over and over.
I am not a psychiatrist. I am a psychiatric nurse.
She's obviously under some kind of mind control.
Definitely the doctors. You can see it that they're not really there. They look like zombies themselves. Just because their skin isn't peeling off doesn't mean that they're not just under total mind control.
I'm being careful to get actors who will agree with my idea. I might have to replace someone in the cast until they agree how I want to change the script.
But then I started thinking, who does she work for? Probably that psychiatrist that Patricia goes to see.
The psychiatrist depicted is not who and what he seems to be. He's probably a shyster.
And we know that Erica called the detective who sent Patricia there.
Don't psychs have about the second highest rate of suicide after only dentists?
And Erica, she works on that communist movie production that's more than likely secretly funded by that Donald Sergeyevich guy.
Hey, Donald.
I do remember that Donald guy.
And Donald is some kind of commie agent working in Hollywood.
And Erica was working with him.
Erica.
You have plenty of hanging threads here. And yeah, there's you have conspiracy afoot.
Everything would become a communist worker's paradise.
It's all a huge conspiracy.
One night, Patricia and Alberto secretly follow one of the other actors after the rehearsal is over. And they follow him to the Red Desert Beauty Salon where they discover communist zombie brainwashing.
It is all a huge conspiracy, although a ridiculous one.
They burst into the back room where they discover reanimated Joseph Stalin. He's the one behind all the brainwashed zombies. He is sitting there under a hairdryer, and behind him we see the evil Erica working the controls. Erica has reanimated Stalin's frozen corpse. One night I was attending a diplomatic reception, and I started to laugh. I could not control myself. And someone asked me, "Comrade Stalin, why are you laughing?" And I replied, "Because I was just thinking, with one word, I could have everybody in this room shot."
There's this photo that's all over the internet. It's a picture of Ronald Reagan on a trip to Moscow, and we clearly see a young Vladimir Putin on the left. So, after reading numerous articles about the photo in question, I just decided to write the official White House photographer and kindly ask him for permission to use his photo. What do they have to hide after all these years? I was getting frustrated and I just couldn't figure it out, so I decided to go down to the KGB headquarters in Hollywood. They're actually very helpful there, and there was, surprisingly enough, no wait time to speak with a representative.
Putin exercised mind control over Reagan from the moment he met him.
Yeah. Well, what about the fall of the Soviet Union?
The so-called fall of the Soviet Union? Putin actually engineered it so that his comrades could seize the country's wealth for themselves. And he could wind up in total control of it. It was his plan from the beginning.
But we always say that Reagan brought down the USSR.
Did he? Really?
And what about all that communist conspiracy stuff in the original Big Raincheck? Well?
Putin was behind the whole thing from the beginning. He financed that movie.
So, you're telling me it's a comedy about a communist conspiracy, except that the movie actually was a conspiracy. And what's this ridiculous idea that Joseph Stalin isn't dead?
Ideas are more powerful than guns. We don't let our people have guns. Why should we let them have ideas?
He's being kept alive under a hairdryer.
Who do you think Putin really is?
When I made this movie, I never heard of Putin.
Well, did he finance this movie?
Those who vote decide nothing. Those who count the vote decide everything.
I think, the whole notion of revisiting film is what it's about. I think that, revisiting earlier works, there's just a sense of wanting to complete stuff.
The idea of abandoning a movie is terrifying, and I don't know that I could. I think I would have trouble accepting that. There would be some part of me that would always think there was a way to find my way back.
I think it is absolutely possible, inevitable, and necessary that one complete a work started whenever.
What the hell was I thinking?
Better like it. You're stuck with it now.
Why abandon something if you can transform it? You can reveal it for what it was and transform it into something else.
Well, you have to redeem that rain check.
It isn't possible to bring back the dead to life, but I don't think that should be the goal. I think the goal should be to bring back the dead to memory.
Do you think it's even possible to bring a film back to life after so many years?
Of course. I think I love that kind of puzzle. I mean, I think any movie you make is a puzzle. Obviously, the conventional way to go about it is to go shoot something at once and with a plan for how it's going to fit together. But the plan never really works anyway. You always sit in the editing room, and at least unless you're a smarter filmmaker than I am, you sit in the editing room and you realize that nothing you thought was going to work is working the way you thought it would, and then you have to figure out what you're going to do with it. And it's a puzzle not in the sense of that there's one solution. There are many solutions, and any of them may or may not work. But I think this is just a more complex puzzle. You've got 40 minutes of material. You have no idea where it goes. You can't. You don't have the option to travel back in time. Lacking that, what do you do?
Remember how you used to always talk about bad films and how you wanted to make the ultimate bad film?
What was I thinking?
You haven't changed, Not really.
Well, you were the only person I could ever really talk to. Everyone else thought I was crazy.
And they were right.
You remember how you used to always say, well, who makes up these rules? I don't make up these rules.
Yes, and I remember how you threw that line right back
Yeah,
at me.
every time. God, I wish you could have been around all these years. I wanted nothing more than to just hear your voice. I really missed you.
I was always here. All you had to do was look for me.
Is
that boring enough for you? It's pretty boring.
I approve of everything. Everyone gets big rain checks today.